I want to share an experience I had when I was younger. A little background story. First, growing up, I had a tumultuous relationship with my mother, no surprise. Secondly, I was very close to her father, though we weren't able to see one another very often. So after a split with my first husband, I ended up moving back in with my parents while I looked for a home and a job. And they got a call saying that my mother's father, my grandfather, was dying and they needed, if they wanted to see him one last time, they needed to get up there and go see him. So we were in the South, he was in the Midwest. So my parents left. And like day 3, I wake up and my grandfather is standing at the end of my bed. And he told me he came to say goodbye. And I thought that was very sweet. I said what I had to say, and he left. I get a call in the morning saying that he had passed away, which, I knew, and that they would be home, after everything was set up that they needed to do and they were done, then they'd be back. So when I come back, my mother's very aggressive to me, just downright mean, body slamming me, body checking me, spitting on me when she talks to me. And I'm like, what the heck? So I had enough of this. I mean, I know she just lost her dad, but what the heck? So I confronted her and I'm looking at her. She's standing in front of me, and behind her, an offset, is my dad. And I'm like, what is your problem? You've been so nasty since you came back. And my dad's going, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Like, no, I'm not having it. And so I called her out on it. And what she told me was, she said, well, we were in his hospital room and all her sisters and the spouses were in a half circle around the foot of his bed with their mom. And the doctors had him on morphine because he was heading out. So they wanted him to be comfortable. And she said he was in and out. He was talking about he'd sit up and say, you need to close the screen door before the elephants get in. So it was nonsensical. um, and she said he was up and down saying weird things, and that doctors told him that was the morphine. So then her face got really red. And I mean, she is shooting daggers out of her eyes at me. And she said, then he sat up in bed and he looked at each one of us and pointed to each one of us and said, not one of you loved me the way Jan did. And then he dropped down and was dead. And I'm like, wow, that's intense. She was mad at me because I was the last person he talked about. Now, I wrote an article about this on my blog. I don't think that they understood what he was really saying. I think he was saying that I saw him, all of him, not the human man, the soul. And I think that's what he was trying to get across. Doesn't matter. According to my mother, I was the bad guy because I was the last person he talked about. We are much more than just our human bodies. We have pasts with the people in our lives that aren't necessarily just confined to this lifetime. He was a man that, even as a small child, I remember thinking how lucky I was that he shared his energy, whatever short time I was allowed to be with him. He shared his energy with me. I was the one grandchild who went to the basement with him. We didn't talk. He did his jigsaw puzzles, and I played. We listened to music. I was young, but that's all I needed from him. because I knew his soul. I was so comfortable with him, and I miss him. So, yeah, it wasn't about the kind of love that we equate with relationships here. This was deeper. It was a soul understanding, soul respect, soul recognition, and soul love. So you got a twofer. You got a ghost on his way out because he hadn't crossed over yet, but he was on his way. There you have it. Thought I'd share it with you. Thanks for listening.